Okay guys, day 32, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hi Jeffrey, nice to see you. Okay, so as I told you guys in the email, we have a film crew with us today. So it's Ryan and Farley. Oh. So here's the goal for the day. We're gonna pretend that we're celebrities and this is totally normal for us. And the camera on our face, it's like, this just happens when you're playing at a sauce. So as they get a little close to you, they're listening in and joking with you, just like pretend like you're not there. This is great practice for when you're talking to groups of students, right? And they're all staring at you and you're like, oh. So please just act normal. This is for the benefit of other universities, for our own universities. We're trying to pick up this model of teaching and being LS. So you guys are an example for the rest of the world, and you guys are totally deserving of that title. So just act normal. And so today we're going to start with a couple speeches and give them extra rounds of applause because we're doing this on camera. And then we're going to move into a discussion about Pogil. You should have watched the video that I gave you guys. And that's really fun because it really captures the vision of what we're trying to do in class. And then, of course, we're going to do clicker questions about molecular orbital theory, which is super fun. So, extra round of applause. We're going to start with Brielle. She's going to do a great job. It's only 2 minutes of your life, and it's a great 2 minutes. So her name is Brielle.
Okay, so I'm Brielle. So I'm from Las Vegas. So I'm going to talk about that and tell you some things that you probably don't think of when you think of Las Vegas. So I live about 10 minutes from the Strip, which is the famous big street with all the different hotels. And pretty much everyone lives about 10 to 15 minutes in a circle. It's like a big valley. You can see like from side to side. So it's really big, but in a way it's actually really small. Now that I'm in Texas, I'm like, wow, it's really small. There's a lot of things to do. And everyone knows about the Strip. And of course you have to be 21. So I haven't really I've been there, but not to do all the things you're thinking of. There's concerts always, and people come and do like residencies. So like Britney Spears is gonna be here for 2 months, like December and January. So it's kind of cool because you get like all these days you can go see. But there's also a lake 30 minutes away. So I grew up boating pretty much every weekend. And in the other 30 minutes, there's mountains and you can go snowboarding. So everyone says it's like the same place. You can wakeboard in one day and snowboard in the same. So I always like that. There's also Red Rock, which is like a mini national park. And that's all just like in a 30-minute radius. So people probably don't think of that when they think of Las Vegas. Also, I've really found to love the location. It's 4 hours from the beach. It's 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours from every big like national park, Grand Canyon, Zion's 2 hours away. And then it's 4 hours from all the big snowboarding mountains like Lake Tahoe and Mammoth. So I always said I wasn't going to go back to Vegas, but now that I'm left and I'm like Texas, you have to drive like 10 hours to get somewhere. So I don't know, I might go back. I really love where I'm from.
Okay, so my name is actually Jingan, but you can call me Jingle and write that down because it will make your life easier. What a lot of people don't know is that my family lives in Australia. So every time I go home, I have to fly home to Australia. And they moved right after I graduated. They wanted to get as far away from me as possible, obviously. So it's really interesting. Australia is the only place that people are like, oh, are you from America? Because you have an accent. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. It's usually the other way around. But they're kind of known for like different animals like koalas and kangaroos and wombats. And today, I'm going to talk to you about the dangers of kangaroos that you usually don't think of and you're unaware of. So this nice sunny day, my family and I went to this like wildlife park, and there's like really cute kangaroos there. They're like sleeping on the ground and stuff, and that's like super cute. And like I'm like happy, this is so cute, like the kangaroos are so fluffy. And then you also get to feed them, which is really interesting because they just have these huge tubs of like food that, you know, you don't have to pay for. You just like go and like grab it and like stuff it down the kangaroo, you know? So yeah, it's really interesting. And, the thing is that I didn't realize that kangaroos cannot be so friendly at times. So this is a particular kangaroo, and I was trying to like hold up the food higher so then it would like pose up and like make a really good picture, right? So obviously I want really good pictures. So apparently, so this is me holding on the food, and like I didn't realize, but it had like grabbed onto my little arms. Oh, not my little arms. Its little arms grabbed onto my arms, and I was like, oh, that's cute. But if you see here, it's like pulling down on my arm and propelling itself towards me, and like it kicked me, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's attacking me. So at this point, I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, whoa. And then I proceed to run away. So I guess that's pretty much it. I guess, so just be careful.
The whole thing. He like loses his mic a couple times, and it's pretty funny. But TED Talk is actually a great resource for learning new ideas, kind of getting involved in what is going on around the world in terms of biggest innovations in science, and even literature and stuff like that. So you should go and check it out. There's TED Talks all the time in Austin. So, but anyway, so this one was specifically about Pogil, and so I'm going to break you up into your groups, and you guys are going to talk about 6 questions that I gave you. And maybe discuss a little further. So just so you know, Pogil, if you didn't watch the video, is process-oriented guided inquiry learning, which is a big part of what we do in our classes. So go ahead and break up in your groups, talk about it, we'll come back together in the future and wrap up.
Everybody actually watches the movie.
He's basing it off that lectures on have a negative impact on your brain. And I think the lectures also reinforce crunching and when people crunch information like 2 days before a test, they tend to just perform longer tests and then the next day forget it, which will help you in the long term.
Yeah, I agree. So I think he also mentioned that it kind of makes science as this really boring subject that's just been passed down for hundreds of years, and we just kind of memorize it. It's not really a new, changing subject, but it is. So we really want to change the way that students are thinking about science. So what was the next one? What are the 3 aspects of learning?
Teaching by telling.
Great. Students construct our own learning. Great.
Discussion with peers is important.
Great. So yeah, teaching by telling, discussion with peers. So what did students construct their own stuff? Perfect.
Did any of you guys see these aspects in our course at all? Any specific examples?
Everything. Like the learning activities where you actually have to like work with the clay and the ball and the sticks and like actually play around with it and talk.
All right, number 3 asked, why does Pogil work?
Yeah, that's right.
So you like, it's like if you guys high school geometry, They never really teach you how to do proofs. They kind of like give you like some steps, and then one day you get a proof, and it's like what? And it's like good luck. My geometry teacher used to tell us if you throw a kid in the deep end, you can learn how to swim. We didn't always agree with that because we were like, well, no, we all survive, one way or another. But yeah, it works like that. Do you guys have any like issues with that statement? I know it's kind of like it's a 6. So do you think that anything can be taught like pure social interaction with peers and trying to grasp it on there? Like talking with like your friends.
Social interaction is definitely like a large part.
Exactly.
Sparking like discussion and debate as well. But obviously you need to find some kind of balance with having an instructor. Otherwise, you would just be reduced to people trying to do worksheets.
Right. And you picked a really good organic chemistry, like chirality, but then it's kind of harder when you get to like, let's do bromine addition. How do you talk about that with your friend? Like, I understand. Like, I honestly thought that when I started doing working with groups in organic chemistry, I really started understanding things. But there comes a point where you still have to have some type of right. You can't understand. Otherwise, if that was the case, I would just go home and learn everything on their own, as long as they're with groups and have like these worksheets. But we don't see kids stop coming to class and just going home and with their course packet. We were on 3, but we kind of moved to 6 because we kind of got we're going.
That's good. You guys talk about the noodles.
We're getting that.
Yeah, what is that?
The aha moment.
Have you ever seen that happen in class, like the students were talking to?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the best part of the collaborative portion of the class. You kind of get some instruction from the lecture to start, kind of a direction to go, and then after that, you can discuss amongst yourselves, and anything that maybe you weren't clear on becomes clear discussing with other people.
You definitely notice it in like discussion sections with the office hours that we have. You go there, some people there, like people. At one point, it just kind of clicks. That's the whole dopamine thing, the click, the hostile.
That was. I used to go to all of those study sessions.
I had one of the kids have an aha moment while we were in class, and it was the day when we'd asked how the sodium chloride is formed. And she initially thought that it's when you put the sodium solid into the water. And then I said, well, don't you remember what happens when we put the sodium into the water? And then it clicked, and she was like, oh. And I saw the aha moment in her expression.
It gives you your own dopamine spurt in the sense that you like help them, like, oh yeah, you're getting somewhere. Like, this is completely confusing. One day you see it click, like, yes.
Do you think, like, we do in class with, like, us walking around and having activities, do you feel like there are more aha moments there than just in a traditional lecture?
Absolutely.
I always felt in like lecture classes, your aha moments come outside of the class. So
Yeah.
you're like at home, doing your homework, doing the class, you're like, I get this. Yeah.
Great, you guys keep going.
What's it called? I had the other day when I'm tutoring organic chemistry. And there's always those topics that you prepare for it, and then I was told I wasn't going to have to tutor this topic, and I was just like, oh, we have to do it. I was like, okay. So I just like, so I'm going through it.
We do that because
This is like, I'm trying to
like so.
and yesterday both of us got like we both got the aha moment at the same time. Like I had understood the topic, but now I've gone through and simultaneous.
What do you guys think about the
I think it should be a creative process. Usually science is, to me, is research and development in the real world. So, I think what they're trying to get at is generally, your basic chemistry classes and things like that you've done in high school. It's like you said, it's just kind of you read this book and there's all this knowledge that's already been learned and you're supposed to memorize it. In reality, I think you're supposed to take that and kind of use that to be creative and be innovative.
believe science is really applicable in our universe, obviously. So what better way to learn it than through application?
And if you look, it's not like the statements he said, like that people find science as like a non-innovative, like it's just like regurgitation of whatever the professor tells you. It's like at first, when I was taught, I was like, that's not true. And then I started thinking about what I've heard people say about it, and one of the biggest things you see in grad programs with science is that there's nothing in there because everything that's to discover has already been discovered, and that's like one of the biggest like issues with like the grad science. So it's like a really big. So I guess it is. Well, so what is Pogil trying to overall reach in its future? It's probably just everything that we're saying about the.
I'm just like normalizing actually learning with autism.
It helps with like a broader opinion because like some people take like their first science class and it's just lecture and they're just like, oh, I don't like this, I'm gonna do something else. And maybe if it was more like involved, like different types of people maybe would be more interested. So you have like a broader spectrum of people in the fields.
I think it's more inclusive for sure when you collaborate with everybody around you. Hold your interest longer than reading a book or watching somebody just lecture on, molecular forces or whatever it is.
I think the program has this huge aspect of visual, kinesthetic, audio, so it reaches out to all different types of learning. I think the most important part of this class is it teaching you how to learn.
I agree with that. Like the breaks, like and then about telling me exactly how to use, like how to study in class, when to take notes, whether to just sit and listen. Because sometimes you see like the PowerPoint's already up, so it's more informative. You see kids that take these lecture classes and they're all jotting it down and thinking yourself, if you put this up, like why don't you just actually like the stuff the professor doesn't have on the slide, the stuff he's saying, that's what you should be taking notes of, not what is on the PowerPoint. Especially if he's going to put the PowerPoint up. And the breaking like that, they really help. The breaking and that help you understand when to take notes, by the way. Like it's important, you just have to understand, and then you can take notes.
Learning modules are also a good tool in doing the reflections every time you take an exam and it really makes you think about what worked and what didn't work. And for a lot of the freshman students, maybe a lot of them, like me, didn't study in high school. And this is helping them guide them towards better studying and learning.
I really like the critical thinking aspect of it. It brings out, having where they kind of give you the initial lecture and then you kind of move on from that and use that to, you start applying that as for whatever particular subject you're covering that day. It helps solidify it for me.
So last one. Well, I think I already touched on it. Anything with her that you talked about, anything like, we're just like, no. Just not agree with it. Did not.
Cool. So I'm a science major, so I don't agree that science is boring.
A lot of you guys are moving on to the
But I understand his point.
That on your proposal section is over. So before we move on to the slides, I just wanted to talk about a few things. So I thought this was a really interesting TED Talk because it captures kind of the vision of our class. And so I wanted to know if you guys agree with me. Do you feel like we do some of this process-oriented guided inquiry learning in class with our students?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that all we do?
I think it is in the sense that, just by the nature of what it's described as is, you have a facilitated kind of learning environment. So you do have a professor that gives you the bullet points, and then they kind of leave you to discuss amongst yourselves and kind of gain your own understanding of the material.
Yep. So sometimes we offer them some lecture or let them struggle with it first, and then we, kind of fill it back in with some extra lectures. So it's a mixture of trying to get an idea of what's going on your own, as well as some added information from the professor during the labs. So if this is kind of the way that science is going, do you feel like this is an effective learning method for most students? Why do you think that?
It helps when you have to try and figure something out on your own. Like, I know things more when I actually work through it and try and figure it out now, rather than having someone tell it to me. Because I've run into that problem all the time, especially with my geology labs. My TAs will show us this method of how to do something. Like, yeah, that makes sense. That's great. I got it. And then I try to go home later and do it. And I'm just like, wait, no, I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's not working.
There. Okay, and most students, I feel like at first will just lecture. They just want to sit there and have you tell them the information. But I think Ash was kind of, maybe we've experienced a little bit of what it feels like to go home and realize you don't know anything because you didn't actually get a concept of what we were learning today in class. And I feel like this is a really good start in innovating the classroom experience. So I want to ask you one more question. How are we as learning assistants a big part of this method? Somebody might answer.
We act as a facilitator.
Okay, good. We act as facilitators. And what does that help? Why does that help the students?
So basically the students, they're interacting with each other to work on the problem or worksheets. And if they come, face a brick wall, then we help them.
Yeah, that's great. And how do you feel like, for your own benefit, being a facilitator, what does that do for you and your understanding of the science? Do you get a dopamine spurt when you see people do aha moments in class? Right? It's like mutually beneficial. You're like, oh, I helped them. They get it. Yes. And when you have a question later on in your Bio 380 600 class about, I don't know, sodium ions or something like that, do you ever feel like the things that we talked about in class today stick with you as well as you walk into your next class? Right. And I think we had a great speech the other day about remember, what is it, 80% of the things that you teach? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think this Pogil method is really fun because it really brings a lot of people together, professors, students, and then kind of peer leaders. And together, it's pretty mutually beneficial. So anyway, feel good about what you do. When you walk into class, you're not just helping them through one question, it's really helping them build a foundation of the science so they can be successful later on. And then you also get some benefits too. Okay, I'm done talking. Oh, yay, Pogil. Yeah, and of course, there's always more innovation to come, so we're just going to look forward to see what happens next. So now we're going to talk about the quicker questions. It's MO theory, which can be a little confusing to people. So I would pay attention in lecture if I were you. Just if there's some things that you weren't clear on, the professors hopefully will clear it up. It'll be fun. The main question of the day is, why do frogs float? So we'll see if we can come up with an answer after we discuss. Apparently, if you
all right, so let's jump onto this one. And today we can just shout out. It's just us.
Sorry. Okay.
The number of sigma and pi bonds respectively, and following is.
I could have been really tough when I was counting.
Did any of you organic chemists think something else for the number of pi bonds? No. Okay. No, just the fact that it's gonna be that molecule actually has one double bond. And so that would end up
So you just have 4 different atoms around the central atom, and you have a differentiation between electronegativities between them. So it has to be polar, because the fluorines have a stronger pull on the electrons. Yeah, it's more like this question. So is the CH bond polar? Not polar. The electronegativity is really close to each other. Alright, question 2. Given a tetrahedral electron geometry, what polar hybridations are possible?
But SPP.
So yeah, remember tetrahedral has 4? Tetrahedral has 4 regions of high electronic density. The students they've been told they need to memorize that chart they have that goes through like 2 through 6. So they should be getting this. For that big organic structure, how many sigma bonds?
17.
Okay, so in office hours, a lot of kids were having trouble with this. So you might have a good way to explain it, just because I kept telling them the first bond always has to be a sigma bond, second pi is always a pi bond. They're still not getting
Good job.
Yeah,
But that would take a lot of time.
I feel like it's harder too.
right. If they were having problems with that, tell me to come to office hours, because I ended up having to go through like mathematical theory and drawing P orbitals and shapes of things to show how they interact and why it's a pi bond. Okay, bond order for H2 plus.
Isn't it like a weird one? It's like a half.
Yeah. So how is it half?
Doesn't it just like never exist? Like you never see H2.
H2 plus? I'm not sure about that.
I think it exists.
Yeah, it could exist, but it's an ion, so it probably won't exist for. So yeah, students may have some trouble with that. The picture that they kind of showed us is like a dashed line between the hydrogen ion atoms, so not a full bond. It's a half bond order. Okay, so somebody come up and draw molecular orbitals for N2. I'll start it and somebody can come fill it with. Just because I'm not sure y'all have the
So 2s2 and then 2p, CNO, wait, C, CN, it's 2p3.
Oh.
It has 4. Isn't it? I don't know.
B, C, N, 2p3, right? So 3, 2p shot? Yeah, 3 electrons.
It's 14.
2p. Oh, is it that one?
I got 2P.
Yeah, I got 2p. Is that it?
Sigma 2P, yeah, Sigma 2P.
Oh, there's one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not Lucas.
Okay. Somebody's come fill it in on the board so I can all see.
No, I know, I'm saying like, I
Jeff,
thought when you was just saying that, I thought it was hard to get home.
Yeah.
I thought it was hard to get home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
14? Feeling like
There you go.
You got this. You got this. Okay, so you're doing so then you have, I'm just doing this for my own. I'll just say this just for
So the highest energy wouldn't be like
Okay, so now we do, it's like sigma 2p. So this one has 2. Is it down first? It's the body, but then the antibody. It's asking for the one that's higher than 4. So you do an antibody. Okay, and then you go. Okay, and so this one you can have 3. Okay, so then you fill the lower ones first. And these are the antibody ones, right? Yeah. Okay, and so then you do. No. Wait, yeah? Did I do like this?
Yeah, one of each first. You have to continue with all.
And then right here?
Yep.
How many do we have? 6, 2, 4. That's it.
Alright. Alright, so highest energy electrons on which molecular bonds? Okay, so yeah, I didn't take it on this. And it is sigma 2p.
These are sigma, right? I thought those are pi on the bottom. And then those are sigma. What our answers change then for the one that's the highest energy electrons for which one?
Will students have to know this chart, like by memorization? Like which one's lower in energy? Like what?
Probably not. They'll probably always give them the chart,
Right.
but they definitely have to know how to fill it in.
Okay.
I don't see them getting. Yeah, they may have on the chart, but they have to remember that there's different charts for certain diatomics versus other diatomics. I don't see much problem with this happening. It's kind of simple. They end up talking about potential energy curves and how everything falls to the bottom. So that's the only thing, just fill in from the bottom.
Because they don't have to know like the order, like the pi is lower in energy than the sigma.
I'm not sure about that. Professors will tell you if they need to. Or it may have been in the learning modules.
They'll give it to him.
I think they have to memorize the.
Yeah, they have to memorize that for tests.
Yeah, the cert.
They don't give them the sheets.
Which because the sigma and pi switch places.
So they just have to memorize that for each element?
Oh, okay.
They have to memorize which ones have this one and which ones have the other one. And then they have to know how to fill it in.
Do they have to memorize the two different forms and which ones are good? Like the two different charts, because sometimes the sigma bond is lower than the pi bond is.
I mean, they get so complicated. It's like, why are the bonding is lower than the signature bonds? Why would it really I'm not going to be given
On the test?
I mean, we should be able to memorize this one, right? This one's bonding, anti-bonding, but here, it's very difficult to decide which one's higher. I mean, we know the anti-bonding ones are generally higher than but if it's crazy, like a huge molecule, like 500 different molecules, nobody's going to be able to figure out the order. And so this is the simplest thing. You have like, I don't know, the molecule caffeine. Like, where are all its molecular orbitals? I don't know. You gotta like really out of this. And that's when I just like draw just a general like energy. This is great. This is a very simple molecule. 2 atoms. So this makes sense. When you have 12 atoms, it's going to get a little wider. Okay, so we can
get one, they like change us around.
We were talking about that. We couldn't think of much.
I think just drawing that initially, like filling in the electrons isn't hard, but drawing it, like making sure they know like that on the bottom it's pi and sigma.
And to go up and down, they might forget that. They might just draw them like, carelessly. And it's like, no, you have to make that one go down.
Yeah, that's what I did.
You gotta know where you're starting.
So if they did that, like if they were looking carefully, this is only the 2, n equals 2 electrons. They just say normally nitrogen has a total of how many electrons?
Like carb with methane.
These are 5 and 2 and 2 and 1. So if they forgot that, but all 7 electrons, what would their answer be?
It's like bottoming time. Yeah, we did that problem.
And then their answer would be 1.
We're guilty of
That
that.
would be the highest rate.
So if you see that pi to b star as their answer,
Because you're saying
look carefully. There's no NS's. Where did they go? Oh, they're just down.
you only want to do 3 right here.
So I did Aurora first.
She's saying she don't show through that.
Electrons won't be responsible for bonding.
Then you would just get right here.
Half bond.
Is there two things that have bonds?
Yeah.
It's very hard to do. So that was just a moment of reflection. I'm like, what does it mean to have half bond? Can you draw that? Maybe in resonance structures.
One of the ways they like flipped it so that this
You can imagine it.
was on the bottom.
It's just a way of looking at like, is this a volume? Like, does this molecule
I'm sure
really
they'll
exist
go
in nature? Probably not.
I think of all the stuff.
So I drew it as a little dash of question mark. This doesn't work. It's supposed to be difficult. You're supposed to go. This is actually
I mean, they showed it to us during class.
Yeah, so it's pretty tough. Just know you want to put all the electrons together, and it's always a hint if you can draw out the molecule and you can see that it's all sigma bonds, so then they'll all go into sigma bonding orbitals. Otherwise, I guess the answer to your question is just you want to put all the electrons together, regardless of the origin.
Because wait, do they know what sigma bonds are?
Yes.
They've already read it. Okay.
Well, they know how to identify them, and they know that they're basically just your average single bond.
And dichromacy can be any bond, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be like N2 or something. It could be like 8.
It could be 8. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think they're going to get into too many examples more intense than that. So hopefully not.
I think they'll be okay.
So with the N2 diagram, how would you, if you tell them to draw it out for like methane to see if they should all be sigma bonding, how would you explain it if you have N2? Because you have lone pairs on there, and they're going to want to, if you tell them to draw it out and they draw it out and see lone pairs, they're going to think N2 bonding for their lone pairs.
Yeah, good point. The fortunate thing for now is that for N2, what they're going to be doing is just, it's sort of like a plug and chug. So they want to line up all their electrons on the left and the right, and then they want to bring them together in the middle. And they're not expected to draw that, because that's tough, and that's something that nobody really memorizes. And so, really,
the next slide if you want to see what it looks like.
yeah. And so the focus is essentially going to be draw out your valence configuration and then bring them together on the provided diagram. So as long as they know it is a valence configuration, as long as they're able to conceptualize what's going on in the bonding, they should be fine. If they're going crazy and they don't want to like just mindlessly put in electrons, tell them
So when you approach this problem, you want to write down electrons because it's for both atmosphere.
yeah, which it's the
Write
same.
down like one you know what I mean? And then you just fill it in here. And you fill in the bonding before the electron.
Right, because that'll give you the number of electrons.
Yeah.
So you have the. Do y'all understand what that is saying?
You mean like once it's filled in, like what it's telling?
Yeah. So that format of the diagram, like what does it mean by the 2s at the bottom and the 2p at the top? Like we all
these
understand.
two S's are like gonna make a lower energy molecular orbital, higher energy molecular orbital. And the higher one is gonna be the anti-bonding, the lower one is gonna be the bonding, and then the same goes for the 2p's. They make 3 that are lower in energy and then 3 that are higher in energy when they come together.
Exactly.
Where are the 1s?
Hanging out.
They're not.
They're 4 electrons.
But you can put them up here too, right? I mean, like if you have your molecular diagram down further, like the actual chart.
Yeah, they just wouldn't bond. These are bonding molecular orbitals.
And it's actually bonding.
You guys had a wonderful discussion. I really appreciate you all coming prepared. It was awesome to see all your work.